Hello everyone, this is Ashish, and today we are going to continue our session on advanced function in PowerShell. We have talked about functions in my earlier video, and we continued our session on advanced video, and now I will be continuing the same in this video. So let's begin and let's see what else we have covered so far. So before continuing the session from where we left the previous session, let's just quickly brief it out what advanced function is all about. So advanced function gain access to common Windows PowerShell parameters and other stuff that makes the function looks like a Windows PowerShell commandlet. The secret, it is the use of commandlet binding tag. Okay, so what functions are, if you have not gone through my previous video to see, to understand the complete functions concept, you can go ahead with that. Else, I mean, functions in PowerShell is just like function in any other scripting language or programming language, but what makes a function looks like an advanced function or to be called as an advanced function is that just give me a moment. Okay, so advanced function is like it will make your function look like a normal Windows PowerShell commandlet. So what are the things which makes looks like it? Let's continue that. So before we go to the ISE, and let's open up the snippet, okay, for function, for advanced function, and that's complete. Okay, so this is what a snippet of advanced function. It's quite big, if you can see that, right? There are a lot of things. So far we have discussed few things. So we have discussed what it is all about. This gives the function of its help capability. So please go ahead and watch my previous video for these details. We have covered so far till here, right? Commandlet binding we have discussed, like default parameter set. So we have discussed that parameter set is a concept in PowerShell where you can define a set of parameters. So suppose you have two parameters, 1 and 2. You want to have one of them enabled, one of them to be used by the user. Then you will include these two parameters in a single parameter set. So if that parameter set will be used, then either one will be user will be able to use it. What I mean by that, we will go through it. I mean, as I said, during my advanced function practical session, or I would say an example, I would be covering in my next video maybe, where I will be creating a simple advanced function, and then there I would be actually using this concept of parameter set, and practical session of that will make much more sense, because it is more about using it. As far as theory is concerned, it's as you can see, it's a set. So there will be two things, and either one you would be able to use at a time. So please go ahead and watch my previous video, and if you still have any query, please ask that, and we will be skipping this detailed discussion over this parameter set for my next video, where I will be covering a practical session of it. Okay, so we have discussed support, should, process, and all those things. Now let's begin the param keyword, and along with that, so there are quite few things. As you can see, there is one parameter, then there is second parameter, and then there is third parameter as well, right? So what I will do, I will discuss the first one, so that the other you would be able to comprehend the other one after that. So let's copy this one, let's paste this one, yeah, let's do one thing. Yeah, right. So function is closed over here. We are not closing it. Okay. Okay, just for proper look, right? So let's start from here. So param keyword is used for defining parameter, just like you. So in a simple scenario, what you would have is like, let's open on it. So in a simple scenario, you will have function keyword, okay, and then you will have a a verb and noun combination to like add numbers, right? I mean, it's like then you will enclose it, right? Then what you will do, first of all, you will be tagging command-led binding. cd let let's copy and paste it. Okay. So the first thing you will do is you will first you will bind command-led, and instead of you can have all these things skipped if you just want to have a simple command-led, right? And then you will bind this command-led with a parameter. So right, okay, and the parameter you will have, so within this param keyword all the parameters you can define. So suppose I will define first parameter param 1, okay. So parameter 1 is I can say explicitly tell that as well, that what type of parameter it would be. It would be string, it would be integer, it would be what. And then when I'm defining the parameter, just like I tagged with the command-led binding, we have few tags for our parameters as well, right? Few tags for our parameters. Now what are those tags and what those tags means, we will discuss that particular part over here. So let's just copy it, or we can discuss it here as well, right? But let's just it will make more sense while you will be kind of, this is how you will be building your advanced function bit by bit by referencing your snippet provided by Microsoft PowerShell itself. So if you go through it, I first tagged a parameter, right? Just like we have command-led binding, right, for function. For parameter, within param keyword, the first parameter is tagged by this. If you see that, this is, let me do, so that's how it ends, right? So it's just like that, just like command-led binding you have. So just like within command-led binding we had certain things to define, we have certain things to define within param keyword as well. That's what I mean. So if I will control V and close this one, right? So let's begin from the first one. So the first option is mandatory, is equals to true. That means this parameter 1 would be mandatory. So if you have a parameter which is kind of mandatory for that function to work, then you will put this true word, so that if the user has not provided that parameter, then it will throw an error. So it's this is what it means, and this is what the flexibility it gives you. So if you will not and if your parameter is it is like it can work without that as well, then you will make it false, right? Then value from pipeline. So value from pipeline, what does it mean? So suppose your function, just like you see add numbers, it might be used as a pipeline function. What I mean when I say as a pipeline function is that you might have array of numbers, right? So if I would say 1 2, so this is an array 1 to 2, right? Two numbers, array of two numbers. Then I am piping it with a function I have. I mean, right now you can see that because I have not defined that, but suppose you have already a function, right? So you are even providing the input, this is your input, and then it is getting passed into this particular commandlet. That's what piping means. If you have, if you remember from my piping concept, what I said that, like let's say get service. Okay, so get service will give you output, and then if you will pipe it with another commandlet, suppose import CSV. Okay, so if I will use another commandlet, it's a function, it's a commandlet, whatever you want to say. It is commandlet because it is internal function. It can be our advanced function as well. So I'm piping it both of them together. So import CSV, what it does, it gets these information, and then it will create a CSV file, provided if you give the path. So if you give $C temp dash service dot CSV, right? So if I will provide this file, then it will create the file and it will input all these things from this one. So for import CSV, input is coming from this get service. Okay, so in the same way, if you want to have your input from a previous command, if you want to use your advanced function, suppose import CSV is your advanced function, and if you want to work just like that it might be used by another function using piping, like some function giving its its output, and then you want to use it as an input using pipe, then there you will use this particular thing, value from pipeline. So value from pipeline is true. That means this particular function will be able to get the input from the pipeline. So if you have a commandlet which is running and then providing you output, then you can pipe it together with your advanced function. So that's what it means. I hope I am making it clear. Then we have value from pipeline by property name. So as you can see, there will be just like get service will give output, as well as it will give output with parameters name as well. So suppose say instead of import CSV, I'll just select name and status. Okay, so what it will do, it will select the name. That means it will be able to pick the property name from here, from get service. So select is actually select object. It is an alias actually. So select object actually it is. So select object is again a commandlet or advanced function if you want to say. So I mean, suppose you have created this particular function and you want to have the capability of picking up the property names provided by the previous commandlet from the pipeline, then you will enable that particular thing. What? This one, value from pipeline by property name. So if you want to pick the values with the property name, like property or name and status, then it will be able to pick it, because it will be able to pick the values by property name. So that's what the property by property name. Now value from remaining argument, right? It is by default false, but if you want to have like suppose, right, instead of this, suppose you have your function add numbers, I mean, it is not there, but let's suppose this one. Now it expects a parameter name number one, then num1 it would be 3, then suppose it expects num2 4, and now suppose you want to use the remaining arguments as well. So suppose I say remain num, okay, remain num7. So it will be able to pick this particular thing as well. So this is what it means. So if you have no argument, and if a user will still provide some argument with your function, then it will be able to get that argument with the value. So this is what it means. Okay, so this is by default false, and we rarely use this one, but we use value from pipeline and value from pipeline by property name a lot. Mandatory is used a lot. Then position means, as you can see, if I will say num1, okay, so this is position 0, then num2 position 1, and then something else, then it will have the next position. So if you want to have the positional parameter, if you want to have that parameter strict to a position, okay, whatever the value provided at that position, it will be accepted by the function, then you can define the position of that parameter as well. So 0 is first one, the second one, third, so and forth, right? Then parameter set name. So as I said, there can be a parameter set, okay, which can have parameters. So what does it mean? That parameter set 1 is the name of this parameter is part of or member of. So parameter set 1 will have another parameter as well. So as if I will go through the complete example, you will be able to see that. As you can see, there is a parameter set 1, and if I go to another parameter, no, not here, okay, I go to the another parameter 2, it is also part of the parameter set 1, as you can see, but the other parameter 3, it is part of another parameter set, okay. So this is part of another parameter set. Now, so as I said, there can be a scenario where you want to use two parameters, I mean, you want to have those two parameters, but you want to have either one available to the user at a time, not both of them. Like suppose you have created a commandlet for update user in AD user, suppose. What it does is it expects whether you want to enable it, right, or disable it. You can't have both at a time. You cannot enable and disable both at a time. So what you will do, you will create two parameters with a single parameter set name. So what it will do, at a single moment of time, at a single instance, either user will able to select one of them, either enable or disable, not both of them. So this is a very simple example of using parameter set. But as I said, we will be having a detailed practice when we will be having a sample advanced function created with few very used concept from the advanced function. I would not be using all of these things, but probably I will try to make use of most of the things we reference while we are using advanced function in production, or while reading any advanced function created by someone on gallery, PowerShell gallery, or even in a module which is on GitHub something. Okay, so this is what it means, parameter set name. Then value not null, it will just check whether value can be null or not. Null means nothing. Value null or empty, it cannot be kept empty. Null and empty are two different things. I would not be, I mean, you should know this. Like, null does not mean empty. Null means, I would say, undefined, what you can say. Empty means nothing, right? So just okay. Then validate count, it can be 0 to 5. Validate set, either one of them, sun, moon, earth, right? It can be any one of them, right? Alias p1, I mean alias for parameter, so whether you want to param1 name it or whether p1, so this is what it means. So this is all about parameter tag. I'm explaining bit by bit, so that it makes sense, because in your actual scenarios you would not be covering everything, if I would say. I mean, it's not like that, you will be using all the concept. Little bit of, as I said, there are few things which you used mostly. There are few things which you skip mostly. There are few things which are optional. There are few things which are, depending upon the criteria. As I said, parameter set name, right? Parameter set name is something where when a particular scenario happens, when you have a use case where you can implement your parameter set, right? If you don't have a use case, you still can have parameter set and all the parameters will be part of that parameter set, but that is not what parameter set is for. Parameter set has a unique application, I would say. I mean, it is, so that's what I mean. We will be covering few of things which are very much used, which way you would be able to cover in most of your production environment, right? So let's go back. So this is parameter 1, and you can just copy and paste and just rename it parameter 1 to parameter 2, and then change few things, like it might be a string, it might be something else. If you go through the snippet, let's go to the snippet. This is parameter 2. More or less it is same parameter, okay? And then within parameter set is like, it is the name of the parameter. It does not define whether it is mandatory or not mandatory, so it is not mandatory. So it is false by default. If you will define it, then it will be true, right? Then it does not define value from pipeline. It does not define value from pipeline by property name. So this parameter would not have control over those things which we have discussed, from getting it from pipeline. And in the same way, we have allow empty collection, allow empty string, validate script, validate range 0 to 5. So it is an integer value, and then another parameter 3 which is a string value. So that's what that's what in this parameter 3, instead of validating null or empty, it is validating the pattern. It should be from A to G, right? It is like something like regex, a regular expression, right? Validate length, it should be 0 to 15, right? Character. So this is what parameters, these are the mostly used parameter attributes which you use. These are these things you call attribute, right? These are parameter attributes, these are things, and then you say, right? So this is how you can control your parameters in an advanced function, okay? And then once you have defined your parameters, right, just like we have done, so we have defined our parameter 1, then in the same way we can define our parameter 2, parameter 3, and so on and so forth. And then we have begin process. So within begin, we can write few things which we want to do before actual processing or before actual work of this function. So what I mean by that is, you may want to initialize a log file, okay, before doing anything. any change to the system, before doing any actual work on the system, you might want to create a log file. Okay, so you can create it from here. You might want to give a write host, right? Write host to the user, right? We are going to, we are about to start the function, yeah, things like that. We are about to do that. We are about to add numbers. We are about to update users. We are about to lock users, unlock users. I mean, depending upon your usability, you can write it over, or you can do verbose as well. Write verbose. Okay, so verbose is a just like write host. Verbose is something which will not be enabled by default. Verbose is enabled when the user uses a particular command, common parameter. So suppose I have a get service. I don't know get service has a verbose or not, but let me check. If developer has verbose enabled, then it will have verbose. Okay, yeah, it has. I mean, most of the commandlets has. So what verbose do, if you will run it, in here the developer has not written any verbose output, so it won't write anything over here, but we will use it in our function. So if you write verbose and user will call that function using this switch, then whatever you write over here under verbose, it will display. If user will not use this switch, then it will just do everything, but it will not print whatever you have written over here. So verbose is normally used for writing hidden details. Like if you are updating user, okay, you have a function for maybe updating user entry into Active Directory. Okay, you might not want to display the actual details of user while it is actually updating it. So what you can do, you can write all those details whatever being updated within write verbose. Yeah, write verbose, and then you can username or the blah blah whatever you want to getting getting department updated to whatever IT, like that user was part of something else, then it is being updated to IT. Then if a user want to see the details what the department is being changed to, then he will use the verbose switch. If he will not, then it will just print this, we are about to start the function. It will not print the actual detail of that particular function. So verbose is used to hide the details as well as give the user the flexibility to get the details if he want, right? So we will again talk about it during our actual function example. So right, so this is what write verbose. Let's remove it. Oops, let's remove this one as well. So write begin. Now then it comes the process block. Process block will do the actual work when function will work, and then within process block you can have a ps commandlet should process. Okay, now what it will do should process ways that if you will do something which will impact the computer, like suppose I will say set execution policy let's say I will say remote signed. Okay, and if I will run this, you will have a warning kind of thing, right? So this is a warning, and this is kind of you will have the option yes, yes to all, no to all, suspend, something like that. So in the same way, you will have this, this particular thing. If I will say get, it has not done anything. Get execution policy. So it is still unrestricted. So it will give a kind of warning. It will give a user, and if user will say yes, then it will go inside this particular thing, and user will have these, whatever the option you will provide over here, it will print there in that warning window. So whatever you want to provide over here, you can provide it, and then if user will say yes, then it will go inside it, and then actual work will start. Like suppose you have a function to add numbers, then you can say param1, param1 plus dollar param2, so things like that you can do. So and then it will do the work. So this is what will have the actual work of the function. Then the end. So end is also a block where, just like in begin, you want to do few stuff like creating log file or starting recording thing, or having a backup or things like that. Then in the end you will have the cleanup stuff. If you want to clean few things before before exiting, right? So suppose you have created a temporary file, right, to execute all those stuff within process block, then you can delete that file in the end block, so that user will not have it after successful running the command, right? So it is the cleanup stuff you will write over here. So this is all, I would say, advanced function in brief, right? And as I said, advanced function is something which will give you the flexibility without much coding, to have a fully fledged working PowerShell commandlet, which you call advanced function, having all the inbuilt PowerShell PowerShell features, all those things like verbose or like debug, or value from pipeline by property name, mandatory, true, false. I mean, there are so many things I have discussed so far, parameter set. So these things you would be able to control using the advanced function syntax. Okay, so I'm done for today, and hopefully my next video will have a simple advanced function using few very basic or very much popular things from this snippet, and we will be using it in our own command advanced function. Okay, and so this is it. It is a vast topic. I might have skipped a few things while discussing it. I might have not discussed few things, just thought that it might not be much more useful. But if you think that you want to know that particular thing, just comment or send us the feedback on Telegram group we have. I will try to cover that part as well. And then going forward, we will be discussing advanced function use case or a single example, I would say. Thank you so much. Bye bye.